pretty long. Week 3 in the stands. Welcome back, everybody. I am Will Rainier, living in down here in Austin, Texas. Diehard Oklahoma State fan. Guys, I'm wearing black this week in honor of T-Boone Pickens, the billionaire Oklahoma State donor who passed away. Wish we could have won a few more Bedlam games for him. So over to you, Mikey. What you got?
Oh, hi. First of all, hi, I'm Mikey from the stands, an OU fan here in Norman. And let's see what's going on in Dallas with our third host.
Hi, my name's Dick. I'm a member of the writing staff here on From the Stands, and I got drafted on waivers this week, so good to see y'all from Dallas. Oh, Giga.
Yeah, definitely glad to have you guys on here. Guys, it's week 3, so thinking about what we've seen over these last 2, let's go ahead and jump right into a segment called All Aboard or Abandoned Ship. So from what you guys have seen these first 2 weeks of college football, what are the teams that you think everybody's getting all aboard on the bandwagon, or who's ready to abandon ship? Mikey, what do you got?
All right, I'll start things off with the probably not the first choice you think of, but Maryland has become a surprising contender out of the blue. Started things off with a 79-0 win against Howard, which, all right, it's Howard, but at the same time, it's ridiculous. And then they absolutely destroyed ranked Syracuse 63-20. So I think a lot of people are riding on this Maryland team right now.
Yeah, I think everybody was high on Syracuse in the beginning. Kind of flipped there. Do you guys see the story? They're having to pull in an extra 1,000 student seats just to help meet demand this crazy. They should be sold out there in College Park, Maryland.
I mean, from my perspective, I see this as a huge win for the program. Mike Loxley is getting to work immediately. Winning in Syracuse, from the outside looking in, yeah, they're ranked, but Syracuse, I don't think a lot of us are putting any stock in that victory. But for the recruiting trail, I think this has done more than has ever been done in Maryland in a long, 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 long time. I mean, probably since Bear Bryant in the 50s. Mike Loxley.
To reach way back for that one.
Yeah.
It's one of those teams where you forget, oh, yeah, Bear Bryant coach there, yeah.
Honestly, I don't even know if that's correct or not, but he said it was so much conviction. I choose to believe.
Yeah, I believe it now.
But I think Mike Loxley is going to start winning a lot of close recruiting battles in the DMV now. And I think the students rallying behind Terps right now is the best thing that can happen to them. If I'm a 5-star recruit, let's pretend for a second that I didn't blow out my knee and I can still throw a ball over those mountains. I want to play for a team where the students are going to support me. And Maryland now has that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. Just absolute great to see the students rallying around them. They're going to take next week off, and they've got Penn State at home. What do you guys think? Do you think they've got a legitimate shot against Penn State under the line?
From what we've seen so far, I would say they're not favored by any means, but they probably do have a pretty decent shot. Penn State's a formidable opponent, but we've seen in recent years that they're vulnerable to the occasional upset.
Yeah, but they end the season with kind of a murderer's row there. Michigan, Ohio State, Nebraska, and Michigan State back to close the season out. So it'll be interesting to see how long they ride this wave, and I bet we see them sooner rather than later on abandoned ship. So with that, Dick, who do you have for us?
I'm going to go not only with the group of 5 dark horses. I think Wyoming is of toppling not only Boise State, but just maybe UCF for the group of 5 representation in the 6 here. They just barely beat Mizzou by a touchdown, and then Mizzou went and absolutely demolished West Virginia. I'm not a huge fan of transitive victories, but just with the way that Mizzou owned that football game, in my view, Wyoming's already beat 2 Power 5 teams this year.
So what does Wyoming's 9-point transitive victory over Texas State tell us, though? I mean, I think they kind of came back down to earth this past week. And even if they do run the table on their schedule, the only ranked team they have right now is a 22-ranked Boise State. Maybe Air Force can be ranked by the end of the season. Maybe San Diego State. But, really, I just don't know if they have enough solid opportunities to really be able to get themselves up into a position to work themselves into one of the big bowls at the end of the year.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of banking on UCF to drop a game here, and if Wyoming runs the table, the committee's going to have no choice but to put Wyoming in an area. If they beat Boise State, which from what I've seen so far, I think they're capable of, I think that Mizzou victory is a lot more on their resume than Boise State has so far. I mean, FSU might as well be a FCS team right now. So
That's
we're
rough.
going to have to see how they shake out. Over on November 9th. That's definitely one that I'm going to have circled, and I'm going to vote as a game of the week right
now. All right. So you're on the Wyoming bandwagon, huh? So you're full steam ahead.
If Wyoming turns out to be as good as you say, I'm going to start asking for lottery numbers.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, one team I think that it's time to abandon ship on is Iowa State. We kind of said this in the preseason. I wasn't as big on them as a lot of teams were. I think last week they really came down to earth, and this week having to play this Iowa game, ASSICO, big game this week. I think this week is going to be the one that really kind of tells us where they stand. But I think after this one, there's going to be a lot of people jumping off that Iowa State bandwagon.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those people who thought, Iowa State might be a contender for the Big 12 title. Yeah, no, I don't really think that so much anymore. That UNI, I mean, it's a win, a win's a win and all of that, but you have to notice that. You have to notice that they went to triple overtime. And if they do pull it out in the end, I mean, all the more power to them, but it's just not looking good right now.
Yeah, the other team in the Big 12 that everybody thought was going to be that contender was Texas. We didn't talk about this a lot last week because everybody else had it covered for us. But you think people are jumping ship on Texas?
I want to say yes, but we're talking about two totally different things here. Winning the Big 12 is totally different than winning a one-off out-of-conference game.
Yeah.
SEC. And you're hearing this from an Aggie. They really came in fully loaded, and I don't see any reason why they can't at least maybe win all but one or two games on their conference schedule.
Yeah, so one of the big storylines coming into Saturday was who is DBU? And Mikey, what do you think? Did we get that question answered for us after this game?
Well, I think we successfully eliminated two teams from the contention.
Yeah, what was it? Almost 1,000 yards in the air.
As far as programs go, I mean, that could be debated to the end of time. But for teams right now, both defenses kind of got torn apart. I mean, the Texas vaunted like what a lot of people would say is the best defense in the Big 12, gave up 45 to LSU. And admittedly, Joe Burrow probably played the greatest game. Definitely the greatest game he's ever played so far, and it might be the greatest he'll ever see. Who knows? But that was an incredible show by Burrow.
Absolutely.
I sort
really,
of claimed
Ellinger didn't
Super
have that
Saiyan.
bad of a game either.
Yeah, Ellinger. I mean, he definitely torched the LSU defense I mean, not the first half at least, but the second half definitely when they started to tire out. But yeah, it definitely didn't look like a defensive showdown like we were promised.
Yeah, no chance. So, Burrow 31 of 39 for 4 touchdowns. Did have the interceptions, so you can put a point on Texas for being able to pick one of those off. Ellinger 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. When you have 2 quarterbacks combined for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns, it's really hard to give a lot of credit to either defensive backs squad there. So,
that sounds like that OU Texas Tech game in, what was it, 2016, 17? It was like 1,000 yards or so of offense. And everyone's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, that was a pretty good Big 12 game.
Hey, this felt like a really good Big 12 game. So do you
Yeah.
think this is kind of what we're going to see more from LSU moving forward? And Dick, how do you feel about your game coming up?
Honestly, I think that, and to quote the late great Ron Burgundy, this was kind of a win in Rome situation. I think that LSU came to Austin, and Ed Ogeron really wanted to make a little bit of a show of force for this new offense. He wanted to show that he can modernize. He can, go toe to toe with the Big 12, who at this point is considered to be the innovator in offense. Forget defense, but in offense in the NCAA now. Sure, kind of a track meet broke out, but this is going to sound kind of a homer SEC bias, but I think that was all part of the plan.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, I mean, it was a great week of college football. Oh,
I
you
was
got
going
one
to
more
say,
for us?
yeah, Texas is probably, and I don't want to give any credit to Sam Ehlinger, but this is probably as high-powered as an offense as they're going to hit until they go to Tuscaloosa.
Well, hold on now. I don't. Oh, LSU. That LSU will see.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were saying Texas was about as high powered as
I was about to get ready to throw down right there.
Yeah, you almost got jumped by two Big 12 guys on that one. Hey, so week 2, not so bad. Week 3, not really looking like it's going to be a great week of games, but we've seen this before. If we go back to 2017, they called it Chaos Week. This happened in October. It was week 7 of the season. And, we had some this was the last time in college football that 2 ranked teams didn't play each other anywhere in the schedule. And what happened? We saw a lot of these guys go down. Number 2, number 5, number 8, number 10, number 19, number 24, and number 25 all lost. And so we kind of have the same thing brewing right now for this week. So what do you guys take on, do you think we could get a repeat of that 2017 week?
I can tell you no matter what happens, the real loser is the audience. And all joking aside, I'm just taking a look at the 2017 schedule. I can't believe there was ever a time that LSU was an upset to beat Auburn. I mean, I don't think there's that much potential here. The one thing that's kind of sticking out to me, and it's a little weird, maybe Hawaii puts up a little bit more of a fight against Washington. I'm not saying an upset. I just don't think Washington has it this year like they did last year, and it might be a little closer than people think.
Yeah, is anybody else getting the spooky vibes that it was Clemson-Syracuse last time this happened? You think there's a shot there for Syracuse coming in?
Yeah, that I remember watching the first half and hoping that Syracuse could get something going, but they just couldn't pull it out in the end. Of course, in 2017, they pulled off, the upset of the week, probably an upset of the season right there, beating number 2 Clemson. Fingers crossed something like that happens this week. I mean, the thing about upsets is you can't really predict them super well because by definition, it's going against what people think. But, I mean, I'm all up for chaos as long as it's not us.
Yeah. I feel like everybody kind of feels that way, right?
Everyone has it ranked, yeah.
I'm looking at the schedule right now. I would feel a lot better about Kentucky's chances of overthrowing Florida if it weren't for Terry Wilson's injury last week. If they had him in full health, I would probably say circle it, sharp. This is going to be the game we're going to be talking about next week. But at this point, I think that's kind of unlikely.
Yeah, so that kind of brings us in. Let's start talking about the games this week. What do you guys think? Our noon time slot. Mikey, who's your shot of the week right there in the noon slot?
The noon shot I've got is North Carolina State at West Virginia. It's going to be played on Fox Sports 1, for those of you wondering.
Yeah, all right.
It's going to be an interesting one. Personally, I'm not sold on West Virginia.
You were just dogging them a minute ago.
I don't think they really have shown any substance this season. I mean, they started off barely beating James Madison, and then they got, blown out by Mizzou.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a hell of a fight. I mean, Austin Kendall, from what I've seen, he's been pretty competent, but the rest of that team, man, they're missing something. I'm not quite sure what it is, but they're missing something.
Yeah, NC State making their way through through North Carolina. They beat East Carolina and West Carolina both pretty handedly. Going up north to face the Mountaineers. Mikey, what's one thing you're watching for in this game?
Well, I mean, for me, I'll be watching the how the West Virginia quarterback Austin Kendall does because he's not used to losing. He's an OU, from OU, obviously, not used to that.
He's got
But
so many starts there.
But I mean, because so far he's performed fairly competently, and I'd be really curious to see how he develops because there's a lot of uncertainty over whether he could successfully take over the offense there. But I mean, there was only one way to find out, and that's by watching the game. NC State, I'm not really seeing much. I mean, they have big wins against, by big, I mean they scored a lot against ECU and West Carolina. I really can't extrapolate a whole lot from that, so I'm not quite sure what to say.
Yeah, the data points just aren't there yet.
Yeah.
So do you think you're counting on them to have if they do have a big game here against a reasonably quality Power 5 opponent, at least a school that should be big? What do you think this does for their chances there in the Atlantic, the ACC?
Well, I mean, the funny thing is in the ACC, in the grand scheme, when you have Clemson in there, so
yeah. And then
I mean that's
everyone
really
else. Yeah.
I mean, if they keep winning, all the more power to them. But Clemson's the top dog in that conference, and there's only so much you can really do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so moving on to Chase or Dick. If that game gets out of hand, or someone just wants to throw something on the second screen, what do you got?
I've got probably the most under the radar game of this week. We have another powerhouse Big 12 SEC matchup. Forget about Texas LSU. This week we have Kansas State, Mississippi State. This is me playing in Starkville.
Yep.
I mean, really, the one thing I'm going to be looking for this game is what is Chris Kleeman going to be bringing to the table for Kansas State? I'm not really that sold on Mississippi State post Nick Fitzgerald. Warts and all, but I really want to see what the former North Dakota State coach is going to bring to the table here. If he can upset an SEC team, which, I mean, now that I say that, is it even an upset at this point? That's really going to build some credibility on what he can do in the FBS.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Wildcats historically have not done well against the SEC. They're 4-19 all-time against the SEC and 0-12 on the road. They've got to go down to Starkville. This would be a pretty big step forward for climbing in the program. But like you said, it is Mississippi State, and so they're not looking so great just in the grand scheme. Or maybe it's all relative, right? Because the SEC West is just so packed with talent this year. All right, guys. So the big game that we do want to talk about, the big game of the week, I guess, game day's going there, Ames Day's going there. It's El Assico. The play on El Clasico, the famous Madrid Barcelona soccer match. We've got El Assico, and anything can happen in El Assico, right, guys?
Literally anything.
Literally anything.
If you can think of it, there's a good chance it'll happen.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's been literally almost anything. We had a special contributor this week. We had one of the guys from the subreddit who is doing the bingo cards every week came in and made a special bingo card just for El Assico. So let's get that up on the screen. And first of all, major props to Arc 47. He's the guy who's been doing the bingo cards for the subreddit. Huge credit to him for doing this for us, guys. What sticks out on the bingo card here? What lines do you think has the best shot at winning?
I mean, I really think the safety for 2 points is something that we're all going to be. What's the word I'm looking for here?
We're all looking for it.
That we're all hoping to see happen.
Okay. So that one right there is in that G column, 2 or more force safety.
Yeah.
Let's see. If I had to pick one that I felt like has a good chance of happening, I'm either going with the missed field goal or
Mhm.
the what was it? Was there one for fourth down conversion? Yeah, at least one fourth down conversion, just because there's going to be some crazy shenanigans late game. It would be probably the most fitting end to the game to have either a missed field goal to lose or a fourth down conversion to save the game. Something crazy is probably going to happen. I'm going to cheat and pick both of those.
Okay. So if you look at that, I like 2 timeouts called in the third quarter. I feel like there's a situation here where you just mismanagement or coming out of halftime and just having things just kind of get a little out of control here. So honestly, I think if we had to pick a line here, I really like this G column. Fumble recovered for a touchdown is a stretch, but it is what it is. I do like Iowa in this game. The safeties, the missed field goals, and then the 2 timeouts. I think we'd have ourselves a winner on our hands. What do you guys think?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So what are some? So looking at the game itself, this is our 3:30 shot of the week. Looking at the bingo card and just what we're thinking about the game. What are you guys really hoping for this year's version of the ASSICO?
I mean, I'm looking to see a stout Big Ten defense against a deflated Big 12 offense. If the score ends at 6-0, I'll be the happiest man alive.
I would love to see the score at 4-0. That's what I want to see.
Now, just curious. Well, no. So we're counting on 2 safeties this week?
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. So this game is definitely one of those ones. I think, Mike and I both kind of got to it earlier, just not really feeling all in on Iowa State this year. Iowa, with the in-state rivalry, this is still a big game, I feel like, to these teams, one that they look forward to, but just one that has never ceased to amaze the college football world and just how crazy things can get. So what about the guys who aren't really into ASSICO? What else do you have for us, Dick, in the 3:30 for the Chaser?
For me, nothing tops Arizona State at Michigan State. When you're talking about people being firm for Herm, hashtag, this is really the game last year that cemented that. They upset Michigan State. Granted, it was at Inferno. I really look at this for Herm Edwards to do the same thing he did last year. He's to some extent going to shock the nation. Well, if the nation is East Lansing, and he's really going to show that he's taken some steps forward as a program. I don't know. I see Arizona winning here, or Arizona State rather, and I don't think it's going to be as close as it was last year.
Okay, Mikey, what do you think?
I mean, it's kind of a tricky matchup because both teams look fairly competent. I would probably go for Michigan State over Arizona State, but you could real easily pick up one or the other.
Yeah, Arizona State, they kind of played a little bit of a snoozer last week against Sacramento State. They did win 19-7, but I feel like that game was a lot closer and probably a little more sloppy than you'd like to see one of your quote-unquote tune-up game. Arizona State did have to kind of come back there in the fourth quarter and score 10 points just to kind of put that game away. But Sacramento State is not really an impressive team. It's an FCS team, and for Arizona State to hang close with them, it doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence having to go up to East Lansing. Nick, you seem pretty high on them. You think this could be one of those games that adds to the chaos this week?
I do. Although that being said, with 2 unranked teams, I don't know how much chaos there's going to be. I just think it's going to add more fuel to the fire of Herm Edwards and his return to football.
And if you want to follow us from the stands, you can see all the social medias we have, especially our Twitter right now is particularly active at From the Stands US. If you would like to contribute to this show, please go to our Patreon From the Stands and contribute. It could be as little as $5 a month. For $5, we'll give you a shout out in the credits, get your name in there, get to be one of the people who jumps in on this upstart. For $10, we'll even let you have a shout out on the show where you can have us say whatever it is you like, a message, a command, a whatever it could be, as long as it's, PG.
I will say, I will not
those are
sing Boomer Sooner for $10. It would cost a lot. It would take a lot more for me to sing Boomer. It's a very easy song, but I'm not going to do it.
So if you pay $10, you can force him to do it.
What do you guys say we reset the game clock?
Let's
do
it, Dick. All right, just a reminder for everybody back home. Reset the game clock is pretty simple. I'm going to throw out a matchup from this week, and what you guys are going to do, you're going to tell us what year you would rather watch this game. All right, so it can be something that's already happened. It can be a theoretical matchup, but let us know. So, Dick, let's start it off over with you. One of the games we have this week that's kind of lacking in watchability. Tell us when would be a better year for OU UCLA.
You see, my gut feeling is to say any year with the whole Chip Kelly's running UCLA. Right?
You got to reset that game clock. Come on, man.
I'm going to go ahead and take it to a nice round year, 1985. UCLA inevitably went to the Rose Bowl. Oklahoma was a powerhouse at the time with Barry Switzer. UCLA at that point, they had 10 wins against ranked teams, which ultimately culminated in them beating Iowa. And I think at that same time, Mikey, correct me if I'm wrong here, the whole thing with Troy Aikman's transfer was going on.
Well, what happened was the 85 Sooners played Miami, and Aikman got hurt for the season. He was out for the rest of the season. And true freshman Jamel Holloway took over, and he became the first true freshman quarterback to win the national championship. Take that, Trevor Lawrence. And after that season, Aikman transferred to UCLA. He was ineligible for the 86 season, but he started for the 87 season.
Good stuff. All right, so you're going to reset it back to 1985. Pretty solid. The other game I'm thinking this week that I definitely wish we didn't have to watch, but we do. Mikey, why don't you go ahead and find us something for Clemson Syracuse? We talked about it before. When would you rather watch this game?
Well, I would reset the game clock to 1959, Syracuse Clemson. Going back quite a ways away, probably further than almost all of our listeners right now. But at that time, Clemson was at a humble 9-2 for that season. They won the ACC and they won the Bluebonnet Bowl. Syracuse, on the other hand, probably had, I think that's the greatest Syracuse football season ever. They went undefeated. They had the legendary Ernie Davis at running back.
That's right.
They went on to do my favorite part and beat Texas in the Cotton Bowl to win a national championship.
That's good. We could talk about that for a while if you wanted to. Any chance we can talk about beating Texas, I'll jump on board with that.
I think everyone here can jump on board. An Okie State fan, and an Aggie.
Yeah, I think we can make this the Hate Texas show, and they just dropped a big one on national TV. So yeah,
literally Colin Johnson on the end zone.
Oh no! Run for it 8 times.
Oh, yeah, that's rough. All right, guys, that was Reset the Game Clock. Hey, great picks this week. Let us know if there's a show, if there's a game, or if you have a suggestion for things like Reset the Game Clock or any other segment. Shoot us an email fromthestandsmedia@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. Let us know what you want to see, because ultimately this show is for you, for the college football field. So let's go over to the 7:30 time slot. Dick, what do you have for our shot in the 7:30 slot?
So at the 7:30 slot, I kind of touched on it earlier. We may not see the same performance that we had last year from Kentucky, especially Terry Wilson just got hurt. I'd like to see it be closer than it ultimately may end up being. But I do think this is going to be a great opportunity for an unranked Kentucky to go ahead and prove what they did last year, that Mark Stoops is the coach for the future, that this is a team that, maybe not win the East, but definitely make some noise and overthrow Florida yet again.
Nice. Yeah, Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, this is really a prime opportunity for Kentucky to reclaim the glory they were able to contain last season. with their pretty stout run up until the Georgia game. If they can, I mean, they don't even have to win, in my opinion, against Florida. If they can just look really good against Florida, I think that will go a long way in their progress so far.
Yeah, didn't Kentucky just lose their quarterback for the season?
He just got hurt last week, which is unfortunate because he's one of those guys who just made tremendous strides from last year to this year. I mean, ideally, what I hoped Kellen Mond would fucking do, but I guess not. And it really seemed like he was getting that maturity that was going to help them solidify who last year. So it's just one of those things you hate to see. Hopefully they can overcome it with that stout run game, but I guess we'll see Saturday.
For sure. Yeah, one of the big things, one of my big takeaways from the 0 game was how unlikable Felipe Franks is. So kind of makes me want to root against Florida a little bit. So I'm definitely going to be.
Howard?
Tell me. Say it.
No, just Felipe Franks isn't he's not the most household name in the world. He's not Tim Tebow in the slightest.
No way. Yeah, absolutely not. So, I'm probably not going to be watching that game, but I am going to be looking at another Florida team, Florida State at Virginia on the ACC network. That's our chaser for the 7:30 slot. Virginia was my pick for the ACC Coastal Division. I think they have as good a shot as any, and they've kind of lived up to that name so far. And this is really going to be their opportunity to score a big conference win. I know it's Florida State, and I know they're down. But anytime you beat Florida State, that's still something you can hang your hat on. So I like Virginia in this one. What do you guys think? I think Florida State has a shot to kind of bounce back from the Boise loss.
I mean, that's what we said about the Louisiana Monroe game, pretty much, wasn't it? They got I mean, technically they won, but I don't think anyone would consider them the real winners.
No, yeah, that's about the worst way possible to lose a game.
I don't think hang your hat on is the right metaphor here. Personally, I'd go with Florida State, a victory there is something to wipe your feet on. They've been an absolute doormat for the last, call it season and a half. I mean, I don't see any reason why they're going to win today. Louisiana Monroe was bad. Honestly, I think Virginia's going to sting. I think that this is going to be the one where we legitimately see Willie Taggart's seats starting to heat up. Florida State, who have tried to keep an open mind, saying, hey, it's only been a season. I think this is going to be when we actually start hearing some rational people start to call for his job.
Okay. Yeah, and Virginia ranked this week for the first time, not looking too bad. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of what we get to there. Let's see.
What's next on the agenda?
Next. So this is actually really cool. If you guys are familiar with this subreddit, guy in there, CockaDoodleBOOM, Trayton, we met up with him to kind of talk about some of the uniforms from this week. So I had an opportunity to chat with him about what he likes this week and some of the looks that he thinks are going to drop. So let's take a look at that. Hey guys, you might know him as CockaDoodleBOOM there on the subreddit, but I've got Trayton, the uniforms guy, with us to talk about this week's best looks. Not a great game, not a great week from a game standpoint, Trayton, but what are you looking forward to for the uniforms this week?
With so many of these teams, the mix and match different sort of looks, be putting out something that we probably haven't seen before. Teams like West Virginia wearing gold, navy, NC State and all white, into it, and all sorts of interesting stuff all throughout this weekend. And it's no matter what happens with the actual games itself, the uniforms will always remain exciting.
Yeah, so break down, what do you think has the best look of the week for us?
The week, I'm going to have to start with our sort of the noon kickoff. And that's going to be Pitt at Penn State.
Ooh.
This offseason went back yellow, gold, and royal blue sort of uniform colors as opposed to their metallic gold and their navy. Gold, white, gold is like going to be their staple road look this year, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so this is their 100th game and the last one that they've got scheduled for quite some time. Do you think Even if the on the field performance isn't good, at least their on the field looks are going to be money. What about Penn State?
I'm telling you what, especially because the last time, now these aren't quite the exact same as the Pitt throwback uniforms I think were in the past couple of years. These are a more of a modernized sort of version of those. It is important to sort of keep that in mind. However, this is very similar to the last time that I played at Happy Valley, and what was that, 2017, if I'm doing the math right? Now, that's going to look very similar to this one, and that one was, I mean, just an awesome uniforms game. Of course, Penn State, as always, they're white, navy, white. So, that gold, navy, I think that's going to be the best looking.
All right, how about 3:30? What do you have for us there?
You know, they're interesting games sort of abound at 3:30, but I'm going to take Southern Cal and BYU.
Ooh.
I don't really see a whole lot in terms of uniforms on the field against one another, but Southern Cal, I love their away look, cardinal white gold, with that gold band. BYU, as far as we know, BYU is going to be coming out in white, navy, white this week. I mean, it's one of the staple colors for all looks.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you just want to go against one another, you definitely have to circle that with calendar.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Okay, keep it rolling, man. What's next?
You know what? For sort of a prime time night sort of matchup, we got to talk about TCU and Purdue.
Yes.
You know, generally in their conferences, they're sort of like mid-tier sort of teams, but here, I think they have some more most interesting uniforms we could be looking at. Purdue, you know, they're going to be wearing all black. It's going to be a night game in Purdue, all black, same uniforms they wore whenever they beat Ohio State, so that's important to keep in mind.
Keep in mind,
And then TCU is coming in all white. This is going to be their in all white, this new uniform set with the L collars that are making a lot of headlines. Their first game against Arkansas Pine Bluff 2 weeks ago, they looked really great.
Yeah.
The all white look, I think a lot of people were looking very much forward to. So with an all white versus all black matchup, I think this is going to be an awesome looking game.
Yeah, so whenever you get the colors solid versus solid like that, you really look for different ways for them to differentiate themselves. Sometimes they do it in the gloves or in the face masks, and so definitely looking forward to kind of seeing the way that they can make those uniforms pop with just the little accent colors like that.
Because these two teams have these uniforms have a lot of personality to them, with Purdue, with the train track, helmet decals down the middle. The vaguely sort of train turn across the shoulders. Looks like TCU, and TCU is some of the most personality of any uniform in the country right now. With, like I said, the sort of Black Panther collar that they have on right now, along with a swoop stripe that comes to a point there at the back, and a two-tone face mask. So again, a lot of personality we're going to be seeing in this matchup, and it's going to be a hell of a matchup.
Yeah, well, hey, this is, you guys know him as CockaDoodleBOOM. Looking forward to your Big 12 uniform rankings at the recap you do every week. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Looking forward to have you on more and more as the season goes on and we get more and more big uniform news. Hey, real quick, before we go, what is the best single uniform you've seen unveiled so far this season?
So far this season, man, that's going to be really tough. That's probably going to be Air Force. Air Force with the new alternate uniform.
The C-130 uniform, with the reflective strips on them. Oh. So good.
They have sort of back plates, that represent different Air Force bases across the country.
Yep.
That's going to be great. They're going to be wearing those in mid-October against Hawaii. I think that's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. The service academies will pull out about 1 or 2 uniforms a year that just kind of blow everybody's mind. Army with the all whites they had a couple of years ago, and then the all blacks the year before that. Navy's had some really good ones last year with the different helmet, jets across the helmet. So the service academies are doing something right, that's for sure. Well, Traden, I really do appreciate your time, man. Looking forward to having you back on the show. Definitely check out his posts that he puts out every week, the Big 12 uniform recap. And thanks a lot, man.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yep, we'll talk to you soon. Yeah, so those are some solid looks for sure, guys. Definitely looking forward to those. Hey, and as a shout out, if you're one of the guys subreddit constantly producing content and you want to share it with us here on the show, drop us a line, shoot us a comment, whatever you got to do. We'd love to have you on. As after all, this is content for fans from fans, and I think we can all agree that the more content like that we can get on here, the better off it is for everyone involved. So we're going to go into my favorite / least favorite segment that we do here. This is the Pac-12 seconds, and you know the rules. Mikey, you're going to get 12 seconds to tell me whatever you want about the Pac-12, and then I'm shutting it down because, nobody really cares. I know I don't care. I'm pretty sure neither of you guys care either. So, hey, if you want to come on and do the Pac-12 seconds and stretch it out, again, drop us a line. We're looking for content. But until then, Mikey, your 12 seconds are going to start now.
All right, so the Pac-12, in both regards to the conference and into the national, have lost contenders in Oregon and Washington with some brutal losses, but I still think that Utah could run the table and possibly make a
All right,
CFB.
and that's all the time we've got for the Pac-12. So 10:30, Mikey, I'll go ahead and kick it back over to you. What's our shot in the 10:30 time slot?
The shot in the 10:30 time slot on ESPN, we're seeing Texas Tech play Arizona. I think it's
Tell
going
me
to be a
about
fun
Texas
one.
Tech because we don't have any more time for the Pac-12. What do you like about Tech this year?
Tech, well, they're undefeated so far. They've played Montana State and UTEP, but I mean, it's Texas Tech. They're always a pretty fun bunch, really, when you watch them. And I don't think, I mean, this season's going to be pretty interesting without Kingsbury at the helm, without Coach McDreamy, whatever you want to call him. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout, really, just by what I've seen against Arizona. That's all the Pac-12 stuff I'm going to mention. All right.
Yeah, I do like Khalil Tate. I think that he was right there. I think he if he could have gotten a little bit more protection in against Hawaii, he might have been all right in that game. But yeah, I'm going to go with Tech on this one. Dick, what do you think?
I would just like to point out, you said if he could have a little bit more protection against Hawaii, they might have had a chance.
Hey, the Rainbow Warriors are bringing it this year. They are undefeated. They're gonna sweep. They could sweep the Pac-12.
That run and shoot offense, man.
I mean, they're Kevin Sumlin's going to lose this game because that's what Kevin Sumlin does. He's the Jeff Fisher of the NCAA. That's it. That's all I have to say.
All right, hey, let's
the actual winner of the game side, I think it's going to be Tech, by the way. This is one of those games. There aren't a ton like it. A&M Arkansas is one of them, where I'd like there to be a little bit more historical relevancy brought into it.
Sure. Yeah.
So Tech and Arizona, a lot of people don't know this, are a part of probably the most forgotten conference in college football, the Border Conference, which was around back.
It's a fancy nugget.
Kind of the way A&M Arkansas brought the Southwest Classic to commemorate the conference that was. I'd really love to see if Tech and Arizona got an annual game. I don't know. It could be between two better teams, like we'll say Tech and Arizona State. And make it a little bit more of an event every year.
I like how Dick says that's all I have to say about that, and then to talk for another 2.5 minutes about this game. Hey, let's bring up the viewer's guide and do a quick recap on these games this week. These are our shots. Them great. If you don't like them, tell us why. Definitely leave your comments below. Hit subscribe and come back next week and tell us how bad we did on these picks. I finally got back to 500. Went up to 6-6 on the season after my 0-4 start. Mikey, why don't you tell us how we're making these picks this week?
Well, the picks that we have that we're showing are basically an average of, or it's the most. We've polled a few people, and we took whichever team had the most votes and display them as shown. So
yeah,
they are not exactly what we're predicting, but that's what we've sort of sampled around the B.
Yep, there you go. So we'll be back on next week to defend these. But before we get out of here, Dick, what are you looking at Sunday morning when you wake up? What do you think is going to be the Sunday storyline?
I mean, I'm looking at a lot of the games that we see here. There's some easy ones. Willie Taggart hot seat, Pac-12, kind of fading into oblivion, really.
Say it isn't so.
think the one thing that's really going to stick with us this next week is going to be Chip Kelly. I mean,
Okay.
San Diego is terrible. I don't see them scoring any points against the Sooners. It's really going to be something that's we're going to see people call for Chip Kelly's head like we wouldn't imagine while he was at Oregon.
Okay. Mikey, what are you looking for Sunday morning?
Well, Sunday morning, I'm probably going to be up all morning watching the Japanese college football because they
Like a real
start
fan.
around- Yeah, they start around 2 a.m. Eastern time, so that's a great nightcap to end things off. When I do eventually wake up, I'm probably going to be looking to see what's going on with Maryland, and I want to see if they're keeping the ball rolling. I'm really curious about that situation.
Yeah, honestly, my Sunday storyline has nothing to do with 3. I'm already ready for this week 4 matchup. Oklahoma State coming into Texas. We haven't lost in Austin in a decade, and so really crossing my fingers. I've already got my tickets for that game, so if you're going to be at that game, shoot me a line and we'll get together and grab a beer. So that's all we've got from In the Stands. Don't forget you can follow us throughout the week on social media. Saturdays, we really kick up the Twitter, so engage with us on there. The Patreon is up. If you want to be a patron, $5 gets you shout out in the credits. $10 will read almost anything you want to right here on the air. And so with that, gentlemen, thanks for coming and hanging out with us. It's been real. It's been fun. Looking forward to some great games. Any final words there, Mikey?
Fuck Texas.